There's a very specific sound on a golf course that can just uh, completely change your psychology for the rest of the day.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely not the roar of a crowd.
No, definitely not. It's that tiny hollow splash. You watch your ball hang in the air, and instead of finding the fairway, it just finds the water.
And for most players, I mean, panic just sets in immediately. They see a scorecard ruining disaster.
Exactly. But the rule book doesn't actually see chaos. It sees a puzzle, right? The game provides a highly structured scenario to get you out of that mess.
It really does. And that's what we're cracking into in today's deep dive.
Yeah, because between the two of us, we have, what, over 35 years of coaching and tournament experience?
Yeah, at least 35. We've seen every kind of water landing, mud splatter, penalty drop, you name it.
We really have. So our mission today is to completely demystify the rules surrounding red and yellow penalty areas. We want you, the listener, to step up to your next shot over water, not with fear, but with absolute confidence in your strategic options.
Right, because knowing these rules doesn't just keep you from, getting disqualified. It actually empowers you.
No hesitation, just clear, decisive action.
Exactly. It gives you a very specific toolkit for damage control. Because a penalty area, whether it's a stream, a pond, or even like a rocky ravine, it's just a strategic challenge.
Right.
And the color of the stakes around that area tells you exactly which tools you are legally allowed to use to solve it.
So let's start with the foundational question of those colors. You walk up to a body of water on the course. Sometimes it's lined with red stakes, sometimes it's lined with yellow stakes.
Yep, visually, it's a clear distinction.
But why are there two colors in the first place? Like, what is the architectural intent behind them?
That is the perfect place to start, actually, because the colors aren't arbitrary at all. They dictate your options based on how the golf course architect intended you to play the hole.
Okay, so it's about the design.
Right. Think of yellow stakes as a forced carry. Course designers use yellow when a body of water cuts directly across the hole, right between you and the green. Oh, I see.
They are essentially saying you must hit it over this to proceed.
Okay, and the red stakes?
Red stakes, on the other hand, usually run parallel to the hole. They are lateral, so the designer isn't forcing you to hit over the water, but they are penalizing you if you miss left or right.
Wow, that completely reframes how I look at them. So the colors are essentially communicating the severity of the architectural challenge.
Exactly. And because of that intent, the color dictates the menu of relief options available to you.
A menu, I like that.
Yeah. The red stakes offer you the full menu. You get every possible legal option to get your ball back into play because you missed to the side.
In yellow.
The yellow stakes offer a restricted menu. They are designed to be slightly more penal, ensuring you still have to overcome that force carry the architect designed in the first place.
Okay, let's explore that full menu first. Let's do a complete breakdown of the red penalty area. So, when your ball crosses the margin of a red staked area, you essentially have 4 specific choices, right? That's right, 4 choices. And the very first option, which by the way actually applies to both red and yellow penalty areas, is simply to play it as it lies.
Play it as it lies, with 0 penalty strokes.
0 penalty strokes.
Wait, hold on. You're telling me if my ball is totally submerged in 3 feet of water, but I want to, I don't know, strip off my shoes, wade in, and take a swing at it, the rules actually allow that.
It sounds insane, I know.
That sounds completely insane.
And strategically, it usually is.
Yes.
But legally, yes, absolutely.
Wow.
If your ball is sitting just inside the red stakes, maybe on a patch of dry grass within the margin, or sitting up nicely on a mud bank, you can just hit it.
Yeah.
And remarkably, even if it is completely underwater, if you feel it's safe and practical to attempt a submarine shot, you can swing away. No penalty.
I mean, I have seen players try that, and it rarely ends well. We will definitely get into the strategy of that later.
Yeah.
But assuming you don't fancy a swim, that leaves you with 3 options that do come with a 1-stroke penalty, right?
All right.
Okay, so option number 2 is stroke and distance.
Right. Stroke and distance means you accept the 1-stroke penalty, and you walk all the way back to the exact spot where you played your previous shot.
Okay.
You get a 1 club length relief area around that spot, no closer to the hole, and you drop the ball.
So just to put the listener in the scenario, you are on the tee box.
Mhm.
You hit a terrible slice directly into a red-staked pond on the right.
Ouch.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
If you choose stroke and distance, you don't drop near the pond. You walk all the way back to the tee box, tee it up again, and you are now hitting your third shot.
Exactly. You are literally taking the stroke penalty and retreating the distance. Now, option number 3 is what we call back on the line relief.
Ah, yes.
This one requires a bit of course geometry, and players frequently get it wrong.
Yeah, I constantly see students struggle to visualize this one. How do you explain the geometry to a player who is just, standing there frustrated?
I tell them to imagine they are holding a really powerful laser pointer. First, you find the exact point where your ball crossed the margin of the penalty area.
Not where it splashed.
Right. Exactly. Not where it splashed, but where it physically crossed the red line on the grass.
Right.
Then you point that imaginary laser directly at the flag stick on the green.
Okay, I'm tracking.
You shine that laser backward, straight through the spot your ball crossed, extending out behind you. You can walk backward along that laser beam as far as you want.
Wait, as far as you want. So if there are trees right behind the hazard, I can just keep walking backward on that laser line until I find a clearing.
Yes, exactly. You walk backward on that line until you find a spot you like. That spot becomes your reference point.
Got it.
You then get a 1 club length drop area in a full circle around that specific point on the line.
Full circle.
Yep. Because it's a full circle, the ball might actually end up slightly closer to the hole than the reference point itself after you drop it, but it will still be further back than where it originally crossed into the penalty area.
That laser pointer visualization makes so much more sense than just trying to eyeball a straight line on the grass. Which brings us to option number 4. Undoubtedly the golfer's favorite.
Oh, for sure.
Lateral relief. And we should really stress this for the listener. This is only available in a red penalty area.
It is the favorite because it usually keeps you closest to the green.
Hmm?
Here's how it works. You find the exact point your ball crossed the red margin.
Okay.
You pull out your longest club, usually the driver, and you measure 2 club lengths from that spot. You can drop anywhere in that 2 club length area as long as it's no closer to the hole.
It's just so much more efficient.
Yeah.
You hit it in the stream, walk up to where it crossed, measure your 2 club lengths laterally onto the grass, drop it, add your penalty stroke, and hit your next shot.
Exactly.
You don't have to retreat at all.
Precisely. So that is the full 4-item menu for red stakes. Play it as it lies, strike and distance, back on the line, and lateral relief.
Okay, so red gives you the lateral bailout because the hazard is running alongside the hole. But what happens when the course designer specifically wants to punish a bad approach shot? That brings us to the yellow stakes. Let's do a complete breakdown of the yellow penalty area.
The yellow menu, as we established earlier, is restricted. You only have 3 options here.
3 options.
Yeah. You can play it as it lies for no penalty. You can take stroke and distance for a 1-stroke penalty. Or you can take back on the line relief using that laser pointer method for a 1-stroke penalty.
So I really have to clarify this for the listener because this is where the mistakes happen. You are saying I cannot just walk up to the yellow stakes, measure 2 club lengths from the edge, and drop my ball.
You absolutely cannot. That is the golden rule of course management right there. There is no lateral relief in a yellow penalty area.
None.
None. The architect put that yellow hazard there to force you to hit over it. If you fail, the rules do not let you just drop on the side of it and ship onto the green.
Let's visualize that punishment. Imagine a yellow stake stream cutting directly across the fairway right in front of the green. You try to hit a hero shot, but you chunk it, and your ball trickles into the water.
Classic mistake.
Right. And because it's yellow, you can't just walk up to the bank, drop it 2 club lengths to the side, and pitch on.
Exactly. Because the lateral option is missing, your choices force you backward. You either go all the way back down the fairway to where you hit your previous shot, or you use the back on the line method.
Which means walking away from the green.
Yeah. You keep the point where it crossed the yellow margin between you and the hole, and you start walking backward along that line until you find a suitable spot in the fairway to drop. You are maintaining the challenge of the forced carry.
It really highlights how yellow stakes demand far more respect. They force a retreat. Okay, so we understand the relief options, but let's look at the actual playing conditions.
Okay.
Let's say I'm feeling brave. I've weighed the penalty options, but I look down and see my ball is sitting up decently on some dry mud just inside a red penalty area. I decide to choose option 1. I'm going to play it as it lies out of the hazard. What are the rules of engagement here?
Well, this requires a brief history lesson because we need to talk about a massive rule change that the USGA and RNA implemented in 2019.
Oh, right, the modernization.
Yeah. Before then, penalty areas were treated like pristine crime scenes. You couldn't touch a single thing. You couldn't ground your club. You couldn't move a loose twig. But now, you are allowed to treat the ground inside a penalty area almost exactly like the rough.
That was such a welcome change. So if I'm standing in that mud, I can actually rest my club head on the ground behind the ball before I swing.
You can. You are allowed to ground your club. You are also allowed to take practice swings that brush the ground or the water.
Wow.
It removed a tremendous amount of anxiety for the player. And the modernization goes even further. Let's say your ball is sitting inside the penalty area, but one of the actual colored stakes, a red or yellow wooden post, is right in the middle of your backswing.
Even after 35 years of playing and coaching, I still see players, and occasionally myself, if I'm being honest, freeze up in that moment.
Yeah.
The instinct is just, that's an official course marker. I can't touch it or I'll be disqualified.
But you can touch it. Penalty stakes are classified as movable obstructions. If a stake impedes your stance or your swing, you are absolutely allowed to walk up, pull it right out of the ground, lay it aside, play your shot, and then just put the stake back when you're done. No penalty whatsoever.
It's important to distinguish that from white out-of-bounds posts, though, right? Those are considered fixed.
Correct. Never touch a white out-of-bounds post, but red and yellow stakes are fully movable if they are in your way.
Okay, so we have the freedom to ground the club and move the stakes. But I assume we don't have the freedom to just start landscaping the area to make the shot easier, what is strictly not allowed.
You hit the nail on the head. You must not improve your lie.
Right.
You can't start chopping down tall reeds, snapping branches, or aggressively clearing away debris in a manner that creates a structural advantage for your swing path or the area your ball is resting in. You get to play the golf course as you find it, not as you wish it were.
And that leads directly to the most common, heartbreaking mistake I see students make. They get into the penalty area, they take their newly legalized practice swings to get a feel for the mud, and they accidentally clip the ball. Or they ground their club a little too heavily behind the ball, and it rolls over an inch.
Yeah, that brings Rule 9 into play, and it is unforgiving. If you cause your ball to move even a millimeter while preparing for the stroke, you incur a penalty.
I always try to find a way to explain the delicacy required here. How do you get your players to understand the balance of being allowed to practice, but not being allowed to disturb?
I tell my students it is exactly like playing that old board game Operation.
Oh, that's good.
You have the tweezers in your hand, you can hover around the patient, you can prep your angle, you can get as close as you want, and you can even practice the motion. But the second you bump the edges, the second you cause that ball to move, the buzzer goes off, and you are penalized a stroke.
That is a brilliant way to visualize it. You can prepare, but you cannot disturb the patient. Now, I want to push into some advanced situations because things rarely go exactly to plan.
Sure.
What happens when the brave operation shot goes horribly wrong? Let's say I take a mighty swing at that ball sitting in the red mud and it just splatters. The ball pops up, moves exactly 3 feet forward, and stays right there inside the red stakes. I'm covered in mud, and the ball is still in the hazard. What are my options now?
This is a scenario where a player's heart rate spikes and they just lose their head, but the rule book remains completely calm. If you play a stroke from a penalty area and the ball stays inside that same penalty area, your original reference point remains active.
Let me make sure I'm following the geometry on this. I hit my tee shot. It crossed the red line by a big oak tree.
Right.
I walked in, tried to hack it out of the mud, and the ball only moved 3 feet forward, still inside the red stakes. You were saying I can walk all the way back to that oak tree, the original crossing point, and measure my 2 club lengths for lateral relief from there.
Yes. The rule recognizes that your attempt to escape failed, so it lets you use the original point of entry. You take your penalty drop based on that original spot.
Okay, let's count the strokes on that.
Right, because you hit your tee shot, then hit the mud shot, and then took a penalty drop, you would be dropping to lie 3, hitting your 4th shot.
But what if I just want out of the situation entirely? Can I just give up on the lateral drop and go back to the tee box?
You can, but you have to pay for the strokes you took. You can take an extra penalty stroke, meaning you count your original tee shot, your swing in the mud, your penalty for the drop, and you go all the way back to the tee box to hit your 4th shot.
Brutal. Hitting 4 from the tee. But sometimes necessary if the lateral drop area is knee-high rough or blocked by trees. But let's complicate the geometry even further. What if the ball actually leaves the penalty area but then rolls back in?
This creates a completely different reality. Let's walk through it. Imagine you are in the red mud. You take a full swing with a wedge. The ball flies up, cleanly exits the red stakes, and lands on the grassy bank outside the penalty area.
A great escape.
But it has too much backspin. It catches a slope and it rolls right back down into the water.
A tragic bounce. But structurally, what just changed for the player?
What changed is your reference point. Because the ball formally exited the penalty area and then re-entered it, a brand new reference point has been established.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it is based on exactly where the ball just crossed back in as it rolled down the bank. You can no longer use your original entry point by that oak tree. Your lateral relief for your back-on-the-line laser pointer option must now be measured from this new, likely much worse spot.
That requires such situational awareness. Now, I want to throw one more edge case at you because I think it perfectly highlights the severe danger of yellow stakes that we talked about earlier.
Let's hear it.
Imagine you are hitting a 7-iron approach shot over a wide yellow-staked penalty area. You strike it well, it flies entirely over the water, and it lands on some flat rocks on the far bank. Technically outside the penalty area, past the yellow stakes.
Okay, good shot so far.
But it hits a rock, takes a wild bounce backward, splashes back into the yellow area on the green side, and sinks.
Oh, man. This is the ultimate trap in course management. You are standing in the fairway, you walk over the bridge to the green side, you look down, and your ball is in the water just 2 feet away from the putting surface. Your instinct just screams at you to take a drop right there, 2 club lengths onto the fringe, and putt for bogey.
But the yellow menu says no lateral relief.
Exactly. It is a yellow area. The lateral option does not exist. You cannot drop on that green side. Your only options are back on the line or stroke and distance. You must take your imaginary laser pointer, line it up from the flag, through the spot the ball rolled backward into the water, and walk backward on that line. That means you are walking backward, back across the bridge, all the way to the fairway side of the water.
Completely negating the distance of the great 7-iron you just hit.
Yes. Or you walk all the way back to exactly where you hit the 7-iron from and drop there. It is a harsh reality check, but it enforces the rule that yellow means you must clear the hazard completely and safely.
That scenario perfectly segues into our practical coaching insights. Putting on our coaching hats for a moment, let's talk about the human element, the psychology. When a player is faced with a ball sitting in the mud, half submerged, when should they actually attempt to hit it versus just swallowing their pride and taking the drop?
I tell every player I work with that this decision must be rooted in mathematics, not ego.
Mathematics over ego. I like that.
Yeah, because golfers watch highlights of touring professionals hitting miraculous shots out of the water, and they think they can do it too. But unless the ball is sitting cleanly above the ground, with absolutely no water between your club face and the back of the ball, and your swing is completely unimpeded by branches or severe slopes, taking the penalty drop is usually the statistically safer choice.
It's pure risk versus reward thinking. Trying to play a hero shot out of a penalty area risks exactly what we talked about earlier, the splatter shot, leaving the ball inside the area.
Exactly. If you attempt the hero shot and fail, you expend a physical stroke, and you are still in the hazard, forcing you to take a penalty drop anyway. You have just turned a simple one-shot penalty into a devastating compound error.
I always preach to my students, do not turn a one-shot penalty into a 3-shot disaster. The smartest players in the world know how to take their medicine. They recognize they made a mistake off the tee. They take the drop, they rely on their wedge game to save par or limit the damage to a bogey, and they move on to the next hole without carrying the mental baggage of a chaotic, muddy hero shot.
Which is why deeply understanding these rules is a fundamental part of course management. It removes the emotion from the decision.
Let's synthesize everything we've covered today into a clear and simple summary. If the listener only remembers a few things from this deep dive, let's lay them out. First, red penalty areas give you 4 relief options, while yellow penalty areas give you only 3.
Right. And the crucial defining difference between the two is that yellow means absolutely no lateral drop. You cannot just measure 2 club lengths to the side.
Third, thanks to the 2019 rule update, inside any penalty area, you can ground your club and take practice swings. You can freely remove penalty stakes if they are in your way. But remember the operation game. Do not disturb the patient. Do not move the ball.
And finally, if you do attempt a shot that stays in the penalty area, don't panic. Your original reference point for a drop remains active.
That covers the architecture of the rules perfectly. But on the course, in the heat of the moment, players need something faster than a full breakdown. They need a mental shortcut. I know you have a short, powerful teaching script that you use with your students. I want the listener to think of this as their emergency protocol the next time they hear that splash. Walk us through it.
It is a simple mantra to memorize. When you see red, think lateral is legal.
Hmm?
You can drop 2 club lengths from where it crossed. When you see yellow, think line it up. You must keep the point it crossed between you and the hole and walk backward along that laser line.
Lateral is legal. Line it up.
Yep. Treat the ground inside the area like the rough. Ground your club. Take practice swings. Even move the stakes. Just don't move the ball. And above all, when in doubt, take the penalty drop rather than risking a compound mistake.
I love that. Lateral is legal for red. Line it up for yellow. If you just remember that, you are already ahead of 90% of the golfers on the course. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into course management and rules. We set out to give you the tools to stop panicking and start calculating.
And hopefully we've achieved that. The rule book is not your enemy. It is not there to punish you. It is there to provide a structured, logical way out of trouble.
So, we want to leave you with a provocative thought, a challenge for your next round. Next time you are on the course and you find yourself staring down a water hazard, do not just blindly pull a club. Mentally map out your relief options before you even hit the shot. Look at the color of the stakes. Ask yourself, if I hit it there, where is my legal escape route going to be? Notice if simply knowing your options changes your tension level and your confidence over the ball. You might be surprised to find that a little knowledge removes a massive amount of fear. If you enjoy this content and want to receive monthly insights on golf, golf technique, tournament results, and more, make sure to subscribe to our channel.